Welcome back, Life Sciences. I hope you had a good break. As I always say, got to get up, got to get those muscles working, got to get the blood flowing and the oxygen flowing. What are we looking at today? We're concentrating on this concept of a cell. Then when we look at the cell, I want you to picture, we're going to just for the beginning, to picture one small, very small little thing that we're going to look at, right? And then we're going to look at all the differences and the importances from there. So when I'm looking at a cell, what am I looking at? Okay, so here I have a structure in front of me. Now, all living cells have this basic concept in them. Right, now the first thing that we're going to look at is this concept of what cytoplasm is. Now, I want you to think of the following, all right? Let's make jelly. Why am I asking that? Because that is what the cytoplasm is. I want you to get a bowl, all right? So picture a bowl. The bowl would be the outside enclosure called the cell membrane, but we're going to get back to that. Inside this bowl, all right, I put, so let's make jelly. I take a packet of jelly, and it's got all dried stuff in it. What do I mean by dried stuff? There's sugars, right? But all of it is dry. So it's a whole lot of things. So if we have a look at biochemistry, that we looked at the molecule, that whole concept of, right, all organic and inorganic, it's pretty much, it's got sugars, it's got minerals, it's got maybe vitamins in. And how do I make the jelly? What is the most important part of the jelly? Is the water. Because what do all living things mostly consist of? Water. So imagine now I take this bowl, I put my dry contents in, and I put the water in, and I stir it. That's exactly what the cytoplasm is. And why did I use the jelly? Because that's pretty much the concept of a cell. It's neither a solid nor it's a liquid. We use the word sol and gel, right? Sol more liquid, gel more solid. But that's what the cytoplasm is. Remember, when you eat the food and everything that you eat, where do I store it? I store it in the cell. Dissolves in the water, and it's there in the cell when I need it. Okay, so the concept of the cytoplasm, all right, is this bowl of jelly. And as I said to you, it's got the most important thing is this water. And this is what it is. All of this over here, all right, is water. And then in the water, I'm going to have some gases. What are my gases? Oxygen and carbon dioxide, and I'm going to have some minerals. What are my minerals? What did I look at during biochemistry? I looked at calcium, I looked at sodium, I looked at phosphate, I looked at nitrogen, all right? All of my different minerals are there waiting in the cell. What else is in the cell, all right? I've got proteins, I've got carbohydrates, I've got fats. All of these are inside my cytoplasm. Now, when we look at what the cytoplasm is, you need to understand that not all of my jelly, all right, all of my things are dissolved. Now, imagine you take jelly and you put, I'm going to go weird, put a jelly bean in, all right? Oh, now what's happening? The jelly bean is going to be there, but it's going to be held in suspension. Right, what happens if I put some fats into my jelly? Not very nice, I know, but we know fat and water don't mix. So maybe it lines at the top, maybe it lines at the bottom, right? It's this whole emulsification. So this jelly is holding things that are going to be inside the cell. And some of it might be my carbohydrates that are dissolved, or maybe it's got proteins or lipids that are just hanging around. Okay, so we've got this concept of what the cytoplasm is. All living things have got the cytoplasm, all of them. Very important that you understand that concept. Now, the next thing we are going to look at is the cell membrane. Now, the cell membrane, all living cells have this membrane around. If I made my jelly, I had to make it in a bowl because everything has to be inside the bowl. And that's exactly what my cell membrane does, right? It has to separate the inner and the outer. What do I mean by that? Is that a cell keeps things in, right, where it should be, and it keeps things out. So there are things that should be in the cell, and there are things that should be outside the cell. And what controls that is the cell membrane. It's like putting a fence around your yard. What should be yours is in, and what is not yours might be on the outside. Now, very important concept as well. Guys, it's the cell membrane that controls what enters and exits the cell. The cell membrane will decide what comes in and what comes out. And we use the term, there's so many of them. I prefer using the term selectively permeable because it's easier for me to spell than differentially permeable. What does selectively mean? If you select, you choose what you want to come in and out. Okay, now you don't have to know this, all right, this diagram off by heart, but you have to understand the concept of what the cell membrane is. Now, when we have a look at the cell membrane, we very often talk about the fact that it is a fluid mosaic model. Now, if I had to break down the words, right, what do I mean by fluid and what do I mean by mosaic? Okay, so if I take fluid, it means that the cell membrane can move. Now, that is quite important. A cell membrane needs to be able to move. Why would that be important? Have a look. What happens if I'm an animal cell? What do animal cells need to be able to do? If I'm just one single animal cell, I'm an animal cell and I need to eat, which means I need to hunt, which means I need to move. All right, so when it comes to my outer covering, if my outer covering was hard and I couldn't do anything, I'd die because I couldn't eat. So I've got, what have I got? I've got the outside that can move, and what is my inside? It's jelly. What can jelly also do? It can move with me. Okay, so first of all, most important, fluid, it is this, all right, outer covering that is flexible, if I were to use that word. Now, what is a mosaic? When I make a mosaic, I put pieces together. Now, I want you to notice, as I said, you don't have to notice all the things, but let's have a look at the words here. Protein, carbohydrate, and protein, and we're going to come to this one just now, lipids, biochemistry. All of these things, when I eat a protein, a carbohydrate, and fat, why is it necessary to have these in my diet? Because they make up the basic structure of my cell membrane. Guys, my cell membrane is made up of these proteins, these carbohydrates, and these fats. And I put them all together, all right? I put them all together. That's what a mosaic is. A mosaic is putting all these different parts together, right, to come up with a structure. Now, what we're going to do is, what we need to do is that the cell, things need to move in and out of a cell, right? So we've got to have a way in which things can move in and out. But have a look at the basic concept of the majority of the cell. The cell, let me go back here. These little yellow heads over here, these lipids. The cell membrane consists of all these, what we call a phospholipid bilayer. What does that mean? They're made up of a phosphate and a lipid. There we go. What does bi mean? 2 layers. Top and a bottom. actually an inner and an outer. And what do we notice? That the top, the heads are hydrophilic. What does hydrophilic mean? Like water. And we want them to like water because what is around here? There's a lot of water around here. This is also going to like water. But what do we notice about the middle of my membrane? It is hydrophobic. It repels water. And why do you think we would want that? Quite simply, we would want that so that when things move across this membrane, I actually want to make sure that they move across certain parts, can you see where those little blue lipids are, and not move through the other ones. So it's basically like a toll gate, all right, that you're going to have. So when we look at this whole concept of the cell membrane, it's essential for you to understand, right, as I said, you don't need to know it, but it's going to be this fluid mosaic molecule, and that it wants to actually, anything that it moves, it wants to put it through these channels. Right, and as I said to you, what is the function of the cell membrane? It's going to choose what comes in and out, selectively permeable. That's very important when we look at the transport. So if we have a look here, just quickly having a look, right, just remember, it encloses the cell, and this very important thing that we're going to look at just now, selectively permeable membrane.